What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, the politically incorrect Asian vlog. And before we're gonna jump into the topic that we have for today, I'm gonna be flexing this fancy eyewear that we have, and I got this from, of course, Lazada online shopping, and looks cool, right? It's blinking. All right, but without too much ado, we'll be talking about coronavirus vaccine, whether the ECQ or enhanced community quarantine is going to be extended, because today or a few hours ago, the whole day actually, the Manila mayors, as we all know, Metro Manila is under ECQ. It's been under ECQ for like nearly 20 days already. Yeah, because got started August 6th, and it's gonna end this 20th. But whole day today, there was a meeting, a gathering among Manila mayors or Metro Manila mayors, uh, and they talk about whether to extend ECQ and whether they're gonna be shifting the responsibilities to some agency of the government. And I think they are trying to shift the responsibility to IATF. Alright, as you can see, I have my Google pulled up, and this is the IATF. Let me just show it to you. IATF resolution. That was actually July resolution, June 28th and July, I think. And there was a talk as to whether ECQ will be extended. And we've been under ECQ for a couple of days, or more or less 2 weeks already. And I think the resolution or the agreement that these mayors came up with, and there's been updates online actually. So what we're gonna do is Google. That's the best thing that we can do. ECQ extension Metro Manila. So is it extended? Well, ECQ is basically the highest or the most strictest or the strictest protocol that our government can come up with in order to curb the spread of the virus. And as we can see here, 16 hours ago, 7 hours ago, I'm looking for actually the latest, the most latest. It's actually redundant, most latest, the latest update here, because 16 hours ago, as you can see here, Manila mayors vote on ECQ extension. So they voted actually, and that's actually coming from Inquirer, and that's actually made the dilemma as to how to present this. Was it extended? Well, definitely, I think it's extended, but who extended it? But according to Rappler, mayors defer to IATF. So basically, they are delegating to IATF the responsibility on whether to declare extension of ECQ. And according to ABS-CBN News, NCR mayors leave ECQ extension up to task force. But all right, that was 16 hours ago. That's for Inquirer, that Manila mayors vote on ECQ extension. Of all the politicians in the country, the only politician that was or is courageous and brave enough to oppose any further extension of ECQ or any further restriction is Governor or Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia. I've seen her, like I don't know if that's some kind of media airing, or it's a regular programming in Cebu that she talks to her constituents, updating them on what's going on in the city of Cebu. But as we can see here, Manila mayors, Metro Manila mayors, not really Manila only, because Manila is just one city within the metropolis, delegated to IATF on Metro Manila's quarantine status after the 20th. So they are basically, shifting the responsibility to IATF. And IATF, I don't know if it's already decided on whether to extend ECQ. So, according to this is actually from Rappler, Metro Manila mayors were unable to come up with their own recommendation to the national government on the community quarantine status of the national capital region after Friday on August 20th. So, if we're gonna recall, right, after the implementation or re-implementation of ECQ on August 6th, okay, that's when we had this commotion or panic or chaos across Metro Manila, especially in the city of Manila, under Metro Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, who just contracted COVID actually, Antipolo and Las Piñas, right? There was commotion or chaos because these people scrambled to get vaccinated. Why did they do so? Okay, I've got to check. I actually put this in my TikTok account, right? Here's my TikTok account. And there was some kind of blame shifting going on over the past few days on who's going to be blamed for this chaos or commotion that went on in the city of Manila, Antipolo, and Las Piñas, because there was commotion, and of course the social distancing protocol was violated or not followed by these people, and a lot of people also went beyond the curfew mandated in those localities. So this is coming
When your
from
incompetent gangster president's main anti-COVID strategy is fear-mongering, blame, shifting, and threats, expect more shit to happen.
Yung mga bakunado, pwede na kayong magpa-self.
Right, I said when your incompetent president's main tactic in order to boost the number of vaccinated people in the country is fear-mongering, scare tactic, bullying, etc. And here is President Duterte, prior to the re-implementation of ECQ on August 6, scaring people that if these or the people are not vaccinated, they won't be able to go out, lest they be accompanied again or escorted by police authorities or barangay officials back to their homes or houses. That's actually what the president said.
Yung walang bakuna, tumabi muna kayo at plano ko ano-anong gawain ko sa inyo. Ito ngayong ayaw magpabakuna, sinasabi ko sa inyo, huwag kayong lumabas ng bahay. Kasi pag lumabas kayo ng bahay, sabihin ko sa mga pulis, ibalik ka doon sa bahay mo, you'll be escorted back to your house.
That's pretty clear coming from the president of this country, that if you're not vaccinated, you're going to be escorted back to your home. And I don't know why this is not clear to a lot of people. They're trying to blame Isko Moreno for this, but IATF has actually the responsibility. In fact, that's actually what these mayors are doing. They're shifting the responsibility to the IATF or the task force, because if we're gonna analyze what's going on, okay, the president scaring the people. In fact, actually, that's one of the tactics being used by the government in order to force vaccination, because they all know that they cannot force people to be fully vaccinated. I mean, vaccinating 109 million Filipinos, that has to be done by Congress. All right, any mandatory vaccination cannot be done alone via executive order. It must be an act of Congress, right? If they would like to vaccinate all people, and of course, it's impossible to vaccinate all people in this country, because there are individuals that cannot be vaccinated with these COVID vaccines because of health reasons, and it's going to be up to the person involved and his or her doctor, right? Not the government. And the thing is, a lot of people in this country are like trying to scare the people, trying to bully the people who don't want to be vaccinated, that they are anti-vaxxers. So that's going to be another, sub issue that we're going to talk about, because there is a difference between people who are trying to get better options, really, because these vaccines that we have today, especially those coming from the US, are just authorized. They were just authorized for emergency use only. They did not go through what Biden called, or he lied actually, US President creepy Peter Joe Biden lied about the US COVID vaccines, that they underwent gold standard FDA approval process. That was a lie. Okay, all these vaccines that are coming from the US and probably from other countries, these are all experimental vaccines. They did not go through the full gold standard FDA approval process, because usually it would take 5 to 10 years or more than 10 years for a vaccine to be completed. It's going to undergo clinical trials, and apart from that, there's going to be regulation. But the most important thing that any vaccine can undergo through, or can go through, is what we call clinical trials, in order to make sure that that vaccine that will be implemented either by the government or the private sector, or voluntarily by the individuals, is going to be safe for use or consumption, right? So, all right, what I see here is that there is actually a tactic, a series of tactic, or I don't know if we're going to call it scare tactic, in order for the government to boost vaccination, in order to promote vaccination, in order for the people to accept or to take the jab, right? One of these tactics is, of course, ECQ. The ECQ is actually not merely because there was surge prior to August 6th, okay, because of the Delta variant, etc. And we have all these variants, because we all know that every virus mutates. Every virus mutates. It was expected. Something that we expected even before, we had all these lockdowns, etc. Right? All viruses mutate, and this is most expected. So we have this Delta variants, etc., and all the variants that are coming from other countries. We don't even know if the Delta variants are worse, okay, or more dangerous than the usual virus, the original virus, the coronavirus, what we call the SARS-CoV-2, right? That's a virus, and COVID is what we call the disease. We don't even know if these new variants are actually more dangerous than the original virus. But what we all know about these vaccines that we have today is that these are spike-targeted vaccines. That's one tactic. The tactic of the government is to implement ECQ. So the implementation of ECQ, including its extension, is actually not accidental. It's a way for the government to force the people to be vaccinated, because under ECQ, we're gonna live through a lot of restrictions. We cannot go out, we have curfew, etc. So the ECQ was a means to force the people to be vaccinated. So IATF has the ball now. We don't know yet, because IATF did not release any resolution, usually in the form of resolution, as to whether it's gonna extend the ECQ in Manila. Let's see if Philippine Star has the latest news about extension. So Metro Manila mayors leave ECQ extension to IATF. So that's basically what we have right now. We're gonna wait as to whether the IATF is the governing body, okay, of the national government when it comes to COVID restrictions and protocols. So they are the authority basically. And all right, we don't know yet what's going on, but to some people, ECQ extension is actually very negative. It's impacting them in a negative way. But to others like me, okay, I'm actually working for a multinational company as a writer and publisher, and it's actually good news, really, because I'm working from home, and well, a lot of people are working from home during this new normal, as they call it, and my company is planning to extend the work from home setup because of these extensions of ECQ. So basically, it's good for me, and not to brag actually, because I don't wanna sound insensitive, but I'm just sharing this with you guys that the pandemic has been really good to me, and I understand that millions of people were really impacted by the pandemic, right? Millions of people lost their job, but of course we have a lot of people as well who were able to survive the pandemic and were able to become more resourceful, and they were able to find new avenues of or new ways in order to make money. And this is, there are online selling, online jobs going on, and some were able to establish new business like food business, and they sell online. And in my community alone, there is this Facebook group of barangays in Makati in which people sell their foods and products, etc. Anything actually. And I do patronize these small businesses within my community. So I order food online, I order their products or anything. And in fact, not just foods, but also items that they sell online. So basically, it's a matter of survival, and this is how we survive during this new normal, as they call it. So another thing that we'd like to tackle is the issue of vaccination. I'm not vaccinated yet, all right, because this is one thing that's really hot to a lot of people, because this is impacting all of us. So if you're gonna think that, this is not political or politics, think again, okay? The issue of vaccination is more political than health issue, really, because it's going to impact your rights, your privacy, your information, or your identity. And a lot of people were like saying, I've seen it online, that hey, why not implement or make it mandatory for people to present vaccine card or vax card before they enter establishment. And I've seen that. Okay, for example, there's this news from ABS-CBN, wherein some politicians, some, I don't know, bureaucrats in this country are like mumungkahe, right? They are like, what do you call this, recommending or suggesting that mandatory vaccine card be implemented, okay, in private establishments. So, okay, first, let me just make myself clear, right? The technique or tactics being done by the government in order to force vaccination, first, it's ECQ, right? They implemented ECQ in order, and we've seen Duterte doing all these scare tactics, and because of that, there was commotion in Metro Manila, okay, especially in the city of Manila, Las Piñas, and Antipolo. People scrambling to be vaccinated. And then I've seen some, comments from DDS or Duterte supporters that, hey, that's actually, a tactic of Duterte. He's doing it right because, a lot of people now would like to be vaccinated. And a lot of people were also saying or blaming the people that, why did you not get vaccinated prior to all of this? Because, hey, I did actually try to apply for vaccination. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, right? I'm not an anti-vaxxer. And I tried to apply because in my locality, we're going to apply online, right? I did try to check every day, but I couldn't get an appointment. And when I went to some places, I've heard from my neighbors and others business owners in my place that they were able to be vaccinated because they know someone at the barangay hall or the city that they live in. For example, I live in Makati and they did get vaccinated or vax in Taguig because they know someone in the government. Alright? These are all true stories. And I tried almost every day because I'm using this Trace app of Taguig because my company is in Taguig. And I couldn't get an appointment. I did try to check every day. And there are a lot of people, the DDS for example, who are like calling people like me anti-vaxxer. Do they even know what anti-vaxxer means? This is actually, anti-vaxxer is what I call, is a smear term that originally came from the West. Okay, anti-vaxxer in the West is actually like an ideological movement, and usually the anti-vaxxers in the Western world, especially in America, are left-leaning. They're either left-leaning statists or just simply socialist. Their political ideology is socialistic. I'm not referring to Marxist socialism. It's socialistic. It's statist. All right. So if you're gonna see someone who is anti-vaxxer or who qualifies the definition of anti-vaxxer, if you're gonna check further on his or her political ideology, most likely that person is statist or socialist leaning. All right. So I haven't seen any quote unquote anti-vaxxer, someone who qualifies or who completes or who qualifies the definition of anti-vaxxer as a real anti-vaxxer. I haven't seen an anti-vaxxer in this country, not even online. And another tactic being done by the government, and this is something that they're going to do in the future, is to partner or force businesses or the private sector to implement no vaccine, no entry policy. And this news coming from ABS-CBN. So let's hear from this news.
Ikaw ang restaurant na ito kaya maraming staff walang trabaho. Sina Jacqueline at Margie, bawas din ang araw na may pasok kaya lumiit ang sweldo.
Tipid-tipid po nasa mga limit sa bahay. Opo, para po magkasya yung budget.
May mga binabayaran din po sa bahay, like nangungupahan po, ilaw, kuryente, kaya malaki po talaga yung impact.
Pero sakaling matanggal ng ECQ at umakyat sa 60% ang vaccination rate sa Metro Manila, ipinapanukala ni Presidential Advisor Joey Concepcion na bakunado lang ang pwedeng pumasok sa mga restaurants, malls, spa at iba pang establishmento. Ang mga unvaccinated, bahay, trabaho lang ang biyahe.
They will not be locked down in their house alone. No? May mga trabaho naman sila. No? Pero yung kung papasok sila sa iba't lugar, baka delikado yan. No? Baka mahawa sila.
Pero may punto ang may-ari ng
Alright, I have a problem with this tactic or technique being done by the government, or that are being recommended to the government to do to force businesses to comply with this no vaccine card, no entry policy. First, okay, it's a general policy or understanding that the government cannot force people to be vaccinated. And even DOH said that vaccination is mandatory, although we have an existing law or Republic Act in this country forcing or requiring children and toddlers and babies to be vaccinated. But when it comes to this issue of coronavirus vaccination, there is no law mandating, compulsory vaccination. But the thing is, what the government can do is that it can force businesses to comply with the no vaccine, no entry policy. So that's one. The second way, the first technique or way that's being used by the government is ECQ. ECQ will force people to be vaccinated. The second way is fascistic move, which is to force or partner with the private sector to require vaccination for their employees and customers. So basically, the business sector is gonna act as a state actor, and this reminds me of the case filed by the libel case or defamation case filed by President Trump versus the big tech in America: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, etc. So the former president Trump filed, in fact, it was a class lawsuit case, saying that in their case, they cited that these big tech were actually acting as a state actor because in America, for example, let me just give you a story, right, about the First Amendment in America. The government of America, or the U.S. government, cannot restrict or violate the First Amendment rights of its citizens. Okay, it cannot do so. The First Amendment right is actually a limitation on the government. But what the Biden administration did is that it forced, or it did partner with Facebook and Twitter and Google to censor Trump and his supporters. That's exactly what they did. And in fact, there was this what we call press conference by Jen Psaki, the spokeswoman of the Biden administration in America, wherein she admitted that they are actually partnering with Facebook in order to censor people for disinformation, etc. But the question is, who defines disinformation, or what is the definition of disinformation? So it can be anything. According to Facebook, I've had some of my posts flagged by Facebook that it can be anything that is against CDC or WHO rules, when in fact CDC and WHO has been wrong all the time about its predictions and information that's been feeding the public. So this tactic is actually the vaccination or mandatory vaccination by the government partnering with the private sector, making the private sector state actors. All right. So first, the government. We all know that the government cannot force or mandate vaccination, but it can partner and force with businesses to require its customers to be vaccinated, which is something that I think is still unconstitutional or illegal, right? And all right, so as you can see, we have all this going on. Whether I'm not vaccinated yet, I believe I'm gonna wait for the new administration because election is around the corner, right? And I hope that we're gonna be electing a different. But I believe that even though we're gonna elect, an opposition government, they still have and they will still have the same ideology when it comes to vaccination, because we actually we don't have party ideology in this country. We have conflicting or opposing parties, but they actually vary only in terms of some minimal ideology or beliefs, but they are all statists. Okay, they have exactly or almost exactly the same ideology, left-leaning ideology or statist ideology when it comes to governing or running a government, right? So, all right, that's one thing that is very popular these days. And another thing that I'd like to discuss, and this is going to be the last one, is whether your employer can force you to vaccinate. And it appears that the labor code is in favor of the affirmative, right? And yes will be the answer, because according to if you're gonna check on Article 284 um, of the Labor Code in the Philippines, here it is. Under Article 284 of the Labor Code, among the grounds for termination of employment are when an employee is found to be suffering from any disease and whose continued employment is prohibited by law or is prejudicial to his health as well as the health of his co-employees. So in my company, for example, we have this, I don't know what to call this, but it's like a contract. It's actually online. Everything is online. So that we have to sign electronically. Okay, we have this form. I'm gonna call it form, wherein we are like attesting that all the information that we provide about our health, that we don't have communicable diseases, for example, and it's there in the form. So it's a legal paper about your status, health status, although you're not actually being compelled to reveal your legal status. Is that it's just making you declare that you are not suffering from any communicable disease like TB, etc. That if you lied about it, you can be terminated. Okay, you can be terminated. So this, article alone in the Labor Code can be seen as in favor of the fact that employers can require vaccination because this is a private company. So it can do anything as long as it's not against public policy, public safety, etc. It's not violating the Constitution. So because if you don't want your company forcing you to be vaccinated, then why not apply for another company that is more lenient when it comes to vaccination, right? That's basically the principle. So yes, the answer is yes. Your employee can require you to vaccinate, all right? Basically, or based on the premise that your health status, if you're carrying some kind of communicable disease, especially TB or coronavirus, can be prejudicial not only to your health but to the health of your fellow employees. So that's one thing, and that's one thing that the government can do. The government can partner with employers in order to promote vaccination in the country. But if we're gonna check on vaccination status, statistics rather, in the Philippines, so we have all these politicians saying that, hey, if you're not gonna vaccinate, if you're not willing to be vaccinated, you're either an anti-vaxxer and you are a threat to the health of others. That's actually what they're saying. So under Statistica, for example, or www.statistica.com, I don't know if this is updated or really accurate, but if we're gonna check on the vaccination status in the country, let's see, as of August 15, okay, August 15, that was like, what's the date for today? 19, so 4 days ago. As of August 15, 2021, over 15 million people received 2 doses, because the first dose and second dose, right, to be fully vaccinated, of the COVID-19 vaccine in the Philippines. In contrast, roughly 12.6 million have been fully vaccinated from the virus. So, all right, okay, I'm gonna take that back. So, fully vaccinated are 12.6 million Filipinos, right? And the non-fully vaccinated is 15 million. That is less than the 16.6 million DDS or Duterte voters in this country. All right, and the question is not whether the people would like to be vaccinated. I believe the people would like to be vaccinated, despite the fact that what we have is an experimental vaccine, right? The question is whether we have, enough available vaccines in our, I don't know, in DOH, or whoever is storing all the vaccines in this country. So let's see if we have new vaccines arrive in the Philippines. So Google is very helpful here. So on August 4, for example, according to this news, that's the latest. I don't know if we have new vaccine arrivals over the past few days, but August 4 news, all right, Philippines, 3 million Moderna vaccines from the US government arrived. So if you're gonna try to refine the results over the past week, for example, okay, about 66 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines arriving this week. So that was 2 days ago, only 6 million. And then apart from that, 3 days ago, 400,000. So we're gonna stick with this 6 million doses. So okay, 12 million plus Filipinos fully vaccinated, non-fully vaccinated 15 million. We are 109 million in this country, third world country, and just recently only 6 million doses of over a few days ago arrived. All right, and now a lot of people were saying that if you're not vaccinated, you're a threat to your neighbors, to your family, etc. Well, I would like to be vaccinated. If that's what it takes, I'm gonna be vaccinated. And I believe I've had COVID vaccine. I've had coronavirus prior to the lockdown. Actually, we had lockdown in March 2020, right? But I felt and I experienced all of the symptoms of coronavirus, of COVID, prior to March. That was February. I've had severe cough. What else? Fever. I had diarrhea. I had diarrhea first. I experienced severe diarrhea, and then after that, after all those symptoms, coughing, body fatigue. I've had like muscle ache, etc. What else? Too much sweating. I also experienced difficulty breathing, that I thought I was gonna die. But what I did, and that was when we didn't have lockdown yet, right? What I did is that I just had some rest. I forgot if I took some medicines, but I believe I took this Lagundi medicine that was available, because I just thought that I was just having some, fever, mild fever, etc. But then my health deteriorated over the following days, like 2 days. I've had difficulty breathing, and that was it. I believe I had coronavirus, and I'm still planning to take like antibody test in order to confirm this suspicion of mine. So basically, this is what we have today. I'm hoping that we'd be able to survive this new round of pandemic. And if you like this video, do not forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And this is again Politically Incorrect Asian Vlog. Have a good one to all of you. Bye bye.